So myself, Ponni Mohan Kumari, I am working with ChipEdge for almost 2 years. I have altogether some 16 years of teaching and training experience. I am associated with RTL Design and Verification course with ChipEdge Technologies. Okay. So, before we start, I would like to set the expectation. This webinar is about introducing this RTL design and verification field in VLSI domain as such. Okay. So, more than technical, I will not be discussing anything much in the technical side, but we'll be concentrating more on what are the opportunities, what do you do as an RTL engineer and verification engineer, etc. Okay, so I would like to set that expectation initially itself, so that if you have some other expectation and if you have attended this webinar from my side 2 3 weeks back, then this is going to be a repetition, so such candidates will not may not gain much from this session. So I just wanted to tell you this before you set any expectation from your side. Okay, so we will be discussing about the scope of RTL design and verification in VLSI design, and some career opportunities and how ChipEdge can help you to get you there. Okay, so that will be our focus for today. Okay, so this will be the agenda for today. That's we will discuss about the ASIC design flow, what is RTL design and verification, need for verification, and career opportunities for freshers in VLSI industry, and how ChipEdge can help you. Before we start, I'll not be seeing any chat window or questions window on the left hand side once I go to the present mode. So if there is any question regarding what we talk in this discussion, if you have any specific question, you have to click to the questions tab on the left hand side. Okay, and this chat window is for any other technical issue, like if you are not able to see or your connection got cut or some issue like that, you can click into the chat window and type there. So there are two distinct things. Okay, if you have any particular questions regarding the topics which we discuss in this session, please go to the questions tab here, and if there is any other issue which you want to talk to us, you can use the chat window. Okay, and I'll not be seeing this chat window or questions window until I take a pause. So but our team will be looking into this issue if you type anything in the chat window. Okay, so you can type any issue in the chat window, any technical issue, any technical questions you have to share with me, you can click the questions tab. So with that, I'm going to this presentation mode. I will take a pause in between and come to this questions tab to answer, to clear your doubts if you have any. So we start with ASIC design flow. Most of you are MTech graduates, you might be knowing, but I could see some 2022 passed out with, I mean, to be passed out students as well. So to their benefit, I'll be spending some time on this. Please bear with me. So any ASIC design flow starts with design specification. Design specification means what is your design for, what you are designing for. Okay, what are the specifications for that particular product which you want to design? Let it be a phone or any other small a toy chip or whatever it is. Okay, you want to have a very clear specification. The specification includes what should be the power used, what should be the functionalities which you are expecting in that from that product, etc., etc. So all those specifications will be documented into a design specification document, and it will be shared with the RTL design team. So what is the role of RTL design team doing? They write the corresponding code. Okay, code corresponding to the design specification provided, And in what language they write this code? In the HDL, hardware description language. The hardware description language includes Verilog, VHDL, and System Verilog. These are the dominant hardware description languages which we use nowadays. Okay, nowadays it's more Verilog and System Verilog, to be specific. Okay, once the RTL design engineer does his job, that's converting the design specifications into the RTL or HDL code, it is gone for the functional verification team. So the functional verification team or functional verification engineer will be checking whether the RTL design written by the design engineer is meeting the specifications properly or not. Okay, so how he does that? By writing code again. Okay, so the verification engineer also writes code, or he makes a test bench architecture. That set of code is called test bench. The RTL design engineer does the design part of the design part, means Verilog code or system Verilog code corresponding the specification. Verification engineer checks the design written by the RTL engineer with set of codes again. That is called test bench architecture. Okay, I hope I cleared those two things. What RTL engineer does, what verification engineer does. Once the functional verification team completes the verification, sometimes they may identify some bugs written in the code, bugs in the code. What he does, the verification team will inform the RTL design team that okay, there are some bugs in this part. Please take care of that. So RTL design engineer look into this code and bug and rectifies that and send back to the functional verification team again. Functional verification team does the verification again and coordinate with the RTL design team and makes the design perfect. Okay, once it is done, it's passed to the synthesis team. So the synthesis team, what they do, they will convert this RTL design written in the Verilog or system Verilog into the gate level netlist. Okay, gate level netlist. This is done using tools. We have various tools to do the synthesis part. After that comes the DFT, that is design for test. So, what is the idea of DFT? If you know, if you don't know, listen to me. Once the product is manufactured, see, from the design specification, then do the RTL design, then functional verification, then synthesis, then physical design, and finally comes a fabrication, package, and test. You know, package and test. Look at that box. When you, if you, after fabrication, if you want to test the chip, you should have inserted some design, specific design in the design phase itself in order to make the IC testable. Okay, that design part is called DFT. Okay, synthesis and DFT. So design for test, the design which you insert in the design phase itself to make the chip testable. Okay, so that is the role of the DFT engineer. Then comes physical design. So under physical design, we have got this placement, routing, clock tree synthesis, etc., etc. Okay, that's a back end job. Up to DFT, we call front end, VLSI front end job. Includes RTL design, functional verification, synthesis, DFT, etc. Okay, once you hand over this design to physical design, there onwards we call back end engineer, back end design, back end jobs, or like that. Okay, then comes a sign off, that's timing and physical verification. Once this much is done, it goes for the fabrication. In the fabrication unit, where the actual chip, actual the design is converted onto the silicon, that place or that process is called fabrication. So we get an IC out of that, and it is gone for a package and test, and finally we are getting the product into the market. Okay, so this is the ASIC design flow or VLSI cycle, starting from the design to the chip manufacturing. These are the steps, broad steps. There are many steps in between. but this is a more or less a good idea you will get. Okay, so I'm coming to the first part, or our emphasis for today's talk is RTL design and verification. Okay, so I'll talk more about what RTL design engineer does and verification. What is the verification process? So as I told you, RTL design is an abstraction for defining the digital portion of a design. So your design may be having digital part as well as some analog or mixed signal part. Okay, so RTL refers to the digital portion. So the digital portion of the full design could be converted to the RTL, or RTL using the HDL. HDL means hardware description language, which includes Verilog, VHDL, and system Verilog. Okay, so this design is converted to Verilog or system Verilog using synthesizable constructs of the language. Okay, then there are different coding styles in HDL, like data flow, behavioral, or what structural coding, etc., etc. Mostly, we will be using behavioral modeling in the RTL design coding. More about these styles you will come to know if you pursue this RTL design further. So I would like to give you an example of design and verification, since there are many 2022, or those who don't have much idea about this RTL design and verification. To attract more big crowd, I've taken very small design. Okay, a 4:1 marks. Actually speaking, the design will be a protocol or a complete design of a product as such, which will be much more complicated and complex than what is given on the screen. That's 4:1 marks. But just to get the fair idea, I've chosen a very small design for you. Okay, so it's a 4:1 mux. So 4:1 mux, the functionality is like it has got four channels, right? It has got four channels and only one output channel. So I0, I1, I2, I3 are the input channels, and O is the output channel. So at a time, only one out of the input channel will be transferred to the output channel. So one out of at a particular time, either I2 will be transferred to O, or I0 will be transferred to O. Okay, based on what, who will decide which of the input channel to pass through? S0 and S1. So S0 and S1 are called select lines. Okay, so S0, S1 selects one out of the input channel to the output channel. This is the functionality of a 4:1 mux. That is explained in this truth table. You can see if S1, S0 is 0, 0 means S1 is 0, S0 is 0, output will be I of 0. That is, zeroth channel of the input get transferred to the output. Similarly, if the select line is 0, 1, I1 channel will get selected. If it is 1, 0, I2, 1, 1, I3. So this is the block diagram. This is the corresponding functionality expressed in a truth table. So now look at the Verilog code corresponding to this functionality. So this is the job. Writing this part, this HDL, is the job of the RTL engineer. Okay, for for this particular design, it's very simple, but doesn't mean that all the coding part will be so easy like this. As I told you, our original design will be a much more complicated thing with many blocks. Okay, and interconnections and stuff. So it will be complicated, but for time being, let us consider this a small design. Module mux 4:1. Inside the bracket, you have to specify what are the inputs, what are the outputs. Here, inputs are I and S. Okay, I is 4-bit and S is 2-bit. That is specified inside this bracket, and output is O. Okay, then this particular functionality could be represented using a case statement. Okay, case statement is a synthesizable construct in Verilog. Okay, so case within bracket S comes. So this S is the whole cases are dependent on this S. Okay, on what it is dependent, that you have to put it inside this bracket. So this S can take up four values because this S is 2-bit. 2-bit variable can take up to 4 cases, which are the 00011011. Corresponding to each case, if it is 00, O is equal to I0, 01, O is equal to I1, I2, I3, and default, always case statement should have a default case also. Okay. So this is a complete code for the 4:1 mux. So this is the design of a particular design specification. Fine. Now we are going to functional verification. So verification, what is verification? Verification is a process to verify the functionality of the design under given specification before tape out. So this is a design written by the RTL engineer. Okay. Now it's a job, or it's a responsibility of the verification engineer to check whether the written design is correct or not. How he does that? by inserting some by inserting some test cases into the design, or stimulus into the design. So that process is explained here. So on the right hand side is the design, and on the left hand side is the test bench or stimulus block. Okay. So let us see the structure of the stimulus block as well. Module mux 4:1 test bench, wire, reg, and this particular line mux 4:1, that is the name of this design module. We are instantiating this module into the test bench. Okay, we are instantiating this design into the test bench using this particular line. Okay, so module name, then we call it with an instance name. Inside that, we are calling all the variables, all the signals, input and output signals. And here inside the initial block, we are giving specific values to the input signals, which are I and S. So for the I is equal to 4 tick B0011. That is this one corresponds to the I0. This corresponds to I1. This corresponds to I3, I2, and the last one I3. Now after 5 time units, I am putting S is equal to 2 tick B01. That means I am selecting which channel? 01 the channel. That means 101. That's one channel. So this is channel 0. This is channel 1. So this particular channel gets selected. So your output will be 1. How to check whether my output is coming correct or not? Using this monitor statement. So there are monitor, display, or stop keywords to see the outputs. Okay. So using this dollar monitor, which is a system task, we can display I is equal to what I have given, S is equal to what I have given, and what's the corresponding O. O is the output. Okay. When you run this particular code, it will be displaying the current value of I, S, and O, and the verification engineer will come to know whether the output is coming correct according to the input or test cases which he has applied for. Okay, so this is a verification. So now, as I told you, this is a very simple example where you have only one design, that is 4:1 mux. Now, if we take a real case for verification and RTL design even, the design code, see right now your design code is 4 plus 2, 6 plus some from 15 to 20 lines of code. But your actual design code will be thousands of codes. Okay, such a big complicated design the RTL design engineer will be writing. Okay, and it is a verification engineer's role to check each and every functionality. So this is a simple test bench structure, but in reality, the test bench itself, right now, this is only just one file, all right? But in reality, corresponding to one particular design, we have around 10 files as such, each containing hundreds of codes, which is called the test bench architecture. Okay. For driving the signals, we'll be having one file. For monitoring, we'll be having one file. For checking whether it is coming the output is coming according to the reference output, yes or no. To find out that, we'll be having we will be writing separate file for that, which is called scoreboard. Okay, this is stimulus file is called driver, means the file which drives input into the design, that is driver file. To check whether the output is coming correct or not, that is monitor file. Okay, so like that, for the simple test bench itself is divided into many blocks. Okay, so that becomes a test bench architecture, and we have to properly interconnect these particular designs in various in this complete design. Okay, so I think you got some fair idea what a design is engineer does and what a verification engineer does. Okay, now let us think about the verification complexity. Why this verification is so important or not? Okay, for a single AND gate, number of input is 2. Number of input test patterns required is 4, because using two signals we can input 4 patterns: 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1. Okay, now just consider a microprocessor which has 5,000 gates. It has got 208 register bits and 13 primary inputs. So inputs together, 208 plus 13 comes to 213. Okay, sorry, there is a mistake. Total 221. So this is a mistake, not 213, 221. So the possible state transitions will be 2 raised to inputs. Okay, that is 2 raised to 221. If your test bench simulator is ready to take 1 million instructions per second, even then, see, understand, 1 million instruction, 1 million test cases per second it can manipulate. Even then, it's going to take 1053 years to simulate all the possible test cases. You getting my point? Here in this mux, 4 cases were there. So we should have some combination. Input is 4 bit. S signal is 0 1. So 4 plus 2. 4 plus 2 6. So total input combinations would be 2 raised to 6. All right. Maybe in some few seconds when you can run or simulate and get the answer. That's perfect, right? In seconds you are getting the answer. But just imagine 2 raised to 220 for such a big design. 2 raised to 221 input patterns are there. Even if your machine is ready to take 1 million instructions per second, it's going to take 1053 years to simulate. So just imagine you have two. This is the case of 5K, 5,000 gates. Just imagine your chip is having 20 million gates. How many years it's gonna take? That much time we don't have, right? So that is the importance or complexity of the verification. You should be wise enough. You should think what to test, what not to test, how to select the test cases, etc., etc. So that is the challenge of a verification engineer, which is awesome. Okay. So the problem is, as I told you, on daily basis the complexity is increasing. Deeper pipelines, increased complexity, functionality, power is exposure, etc., etc. Then low abstraction level of RTL. That means initially we had schematics, then we had Verilog RTL coding, then system Verilog we had. So like that, abstraction level is increasing. So it's decreasing actually. So trillions of cycles are taking to simulate itself. Then verification effort is almost 70% of the total design cycle. So if you take 1 month or 10 months, 10 months for the complete IC fabrication from the design stage to the fabrication, if it is taking 10 months, 7 months are going in verification only, because that is the complexity of the verification. Fine. So why robust verification is important? First and foremost thing is it is including millions of transistors. Next thing, we want this verification of such a complex system in a very short span of time. Otherwise, what happens? Your competitor will make do that and introduce that product into the market. You will be late, so your business will be at loss. correct? So the complete VLSI design cycle, you want to do it in very shorter span once the design is ready. So that's the second point. Third thing, early stage detection will help to save the cost. For example, the RTL design engineer is uh, designing your circuit or writing code for your design. Your verification engineer will be checking for the bugs. They will, RTL design and verification team will work together and make the complete design error free or bug free. Fine, it is going to the PD stage. Okay, so the PD synthesis, DFT, and PD stage. Once you are identifying a bug after the pre-D process, after the physical design process, just imagine what happens. It has to go back to the RTL engineer. Once again, it has to go through the verification engineer, synthesis, then PD. So the whole process has to be repeated, you know. So just imagine the case you are identifying a bug only in the testing phase, that is after the manufacturing. What will be the cost involved for the fabrication is the highest cost involved, millions of dollars. Okay, so what happens, the whole process has to be repeated. This is called respin of the chip, respin. The whole process has to be repeated. So that is why the verification is so important in the ASIC verification, ASIC design cycle. So the last statement in this particular slide is really important. Around 70% of the design time as well as cost is spent on verification and validation. Okay. So the whole verification process parallels the design process. For example, in this diagram, you can slightly modify this particular diagram. This design specification will be going to the RTL design and functional verification engineer at the same time. When the RTL engineer is writing the code, depending upon the design specification, what does the verification engineer do? Verification engineer will identify what all test cases he can find out to check whether the RTL design is meeting the design specification or not. For identifying that part, he doesn't want the RTL design as such. He needs the design specification only. Because looking into the specification, he can identify what are to be tested, what should be the architecture, how many drivers are required, how many monitors are required, all those idea he can make it ready. So actually speaking, from here it is paralleling, means two parallel branches will be there from the design specification. I'll come to that. So once the specification is given to the verification engineer or verification team, they'll make the verification plan and then follow making the test bench architecture, and they'll start like that. The test then exercise the RTL to show that it matches the desired outputs. Okay. Once the DUT performs the designated functions correctly, it should also be checked how the DUT will operate when there is error. So they inject error and see whether the DUT is identifying that error or not. Like that, many verification agenda will be there in the verification process. Now, I would like to introduce some 2-3 terminologies which we use in RTL design and verification. They are directed test cases, then random test case, constrained random test case, functional coverage, and code coverage. Okay, I just want to introduce these terms to you because if at all you would like to enter into this field now, if you read some article or something, these are the most widely used terminology. So if you want to read more about the RTL design and verification, this discussion will definitely help you. Okay, what's a directed test case, what's a constrained random test case, functional coverage, and code coverage. Fine. So as I told you, test cases. Test cases means to make it simpler, I'll show you this test. This is a design and this is a verification or test bench. Correct? Simple test case, test bench. So in that, this is a test case. So you are putting a particular input and checking for a particular output. Okay. So I is equal to 4 tick B00 and S is equal to 2 tick B01 is a test case. To test what? To test the functionality for a 4:1 mux. What is the functionality you are checking? I'm checking that when I am putting s is equal to 0, 1, is the correct channel, that is the first channel is getting selected or not. I'm testing that particular functionality. Similarly, if I want to check whether the third I3 channel is getting selected or not, what should be my test case? My test case should be S is equal to 2 tick B 1 1. That should be my test case. So I hope you understood what do you mean by test case. Okay, coming back. So directed test case means, for example, this particular 4:1 marks, the directed test case is what I have given you right now. I just wanted to check whether the third channel is getting propagated or not. So my test case is S is equal to 2 tick B 1 1. That is my directed test case, because I'm giving explicitly, I'm giving directly the test case to check whether the third channel is getting selected or not. Okay. So just imagine you have a very big design which has some 200, 300 inputs. Is it possible to directly give, then your lines of code 2 raised to 200, that many lines will be there in your file itself, which is coming to millions, right? We don't have that much time or energy to identify that many directed test cases. So to make your life, to make the verification engineer's life easy, it this random test came. Okay, that is, instead of generating um, all the test cases, we are generating only certain random test cases. Okay, if you are lucky enough, only that I can say. Okay, if you are lucky enough, this bug will get hit with this random test case. Is it a correct procedure? No, not definitely, because who knows whether the random simply 1 to 100, you want to randomize your particular signal from 1 to 100 and run it for some 10 times. So it may select 15, 25, 35, 45, 55. Only that it will get selected. But suppose your bug is in the 50, that gets skipped, correct? So random test is easy, but it is not very safe to use. Okay, so what are the problem? All the input parameters are randomized, too much time. And again, the thing is, you can increase the random how many times a random number has to be generated. Okay, so that is one way. So in that case, one problem is there. For example, you have an address. Okay, 2 raised to I mean, some 8 address lines are there. 2 raised to 8 address locations will be there. Okay, if you completely randomize, one hidden problem is like 2 raised to 8 means it will be a huge range. Okay, in that range, a particular range you are not using at all. Your design is not using a particular range of addresses. But if you just like that give a random test, it will go and hit the unused address range also, which is useless. We don't want that. Okay, in such cases we can go for constrained randomness. That means you are randomizing the 2 raised to 8 address locations with a constraint that I want only it from this particular location to this location, only this much range I want. Okay, that is called constrained random test. So I can just tell you, directed test cases means the complete test cases I am giving, identifying and giving that particular test case in my test bench, which is very time consuming, and you may not identify the directed test case. Okay, and in that case also it is a bug. And now to eliminate that, you can go for random test. That means you are randomizing the required parameters and giving the simulator itself is generating the random test cases. Okay, so what is the problem in that? If you have a wide range of address and if you are completely randomizing that, it may go and hit the unused range of addresses or something. But in that case, we can constrain the randomization with some peculiar with some constraints. That means, uh, please randomize my address signal which is 2 raised to 8, but don't go for this particular range. That is called constrained random test. Okay. Now, if you are using the directed approach, it may take this much time. For example, to get the 100% verification, it may go like this path. Okay, to get that 100%. Okay, fine, I have done verification like that. But if you use constrained random approach, you may reach that 100% verification in such a shorter span. So this much is the time saved if you are going for the constrained random test. Okay, this is just a comparison. Now, two more important things are there: code coverage and functional coverage. Okay, coverage is a metric or a measure. Okay, how much of your design code is tested, or the functionality is being checked. Okay, so if you go to this one, this is the test bench. I mean, this is the design and this is the test bench. In your test bench, you see I is equal to some random value I have given. S is equal to 2 tick B01. When the simulator executes this particular line, where does it go in the design? S is equal to 2 tick B01. 2 tick B01. This particular line it goes. Correct? Then when I give S is equal to 2 tick B11, where does it go? 2 tick B11. O is equal to this particular line. So out the full design is 4 lines. To make this headings and other things, if I eliminate, the core part is 4 lines. In that, my test bench is executing only 2 lines. So I will say the code coverage of this particular test bench is 50%, because it has not gone to 0 line and 1 line. So the code coverage is 50% only. So what is code coverage? Code coverage means how much of your design code is covered by your test bench. Okay, that measure in percentage, we will say whether it is 90% or 70%, like that we say. So only 70% is the code coverage. So what does it mean? Only 70% of the design is only covered by your test bench. Is it a good or bad thing? Definitely bad thing. That means there are many areas in this design which is untouched, which is not checked by my test bench. Okay, so I have to also, the verification engineer has to sit and write more codes or more test cases he has to include to hit particular line in this in the design. You getting the idea? So code coverage is how much of the code of the DUT has been exercised. Okay, so we will be always aiming for 100% code coverage. Okay, so that is the meaning of code coverage. Now comes another, okay, fine. Different types of code coverage includes line coverage, have all the lines of code been executed. Statement coverage, have all the statements been executed. Means whether your test bench is covering all the statements in the DUT, in the design. Similarly, branch coverage, expression coverage, state transition coverage means FSMs. There will be many finite state machine FSM code will be there. Okay, whether it is going to each and every stage in that. Then toggle coverage, FSM coverage, etc. etc. Okay, these are the types of code coverage. So this code coverage, once you write the test bench corresponding to a particular design, and when you do some simulations, this tool is going to give you the code coverage. The tool, it will give you the figure. Once you run this in your simulator, Synopsys simulator or Cadence simulator, any simulator you can use, when you run that test bench code, the tool is going to give you a figure at the end. Okay, 70%. So what does it mean? It is 70% of the code only it is covering, your test bench is covering, and it will give you all the details, how much of the lines are covered, line separately, line coverage is how much, statement coverage is how much, FSM coverage is how much, like that independently it will give you, and it will show you which all lines are not hit. So in identifying or improving the code coverage, tool can help you to great extent because it directly gives you all the detail, which all lines are covered, which are lines are not covered, etc., etc. So you can look at this statements and go back and improve your test bench architecture, run it once again until you get 100% code coverage. It's a must. Okay, you have to make the code coverage 100%. Now comes the functional coverage. That means, see, for example, in your test bench, you forgot to write this line, 2 tick B 1 1. You forgot, or the RTL engineer forgot that to include that particular functionality in his design. Okay, and verification engineer also did not write this line. Okay, so without this line, verification engineer runs the code. Okay, or with this line also no problem because default is there, so it will go to the default also. Okay, fine. The test will pass. Yes or no? The test will pass. Or you can imagine both of them forgot to write this particular line, this line and this line. Will the test bench report any bug? No, because he has not included that particular test case. Okay, and RTL engineer also forgot to write that test case. Then also the code coverage will be 100% because both the parties forgot to write that particular line. Code coverage will give you 100%. So can we make sure that okay, your design is bug free? No, not definitely, because one functionality is missed. So that is the functional coverage. So how will you get this coverage, functional coverage metrics? When the specification is laid out, the RTL, the verification engineer will sit down and list out all the functionalities to be tested. Okay, and as and when a particular functionality is being tested, those things will get a tick mark. Finally, you will be having a list of functionalities, and the tool, that list of functionalities, you will be writing codes again. Okay, you will write corresponding code to a particular functionality. You will write separate set of codes for the second functionality. Like that, for the 100 functionalities, you will be writing the code, and the tool will check whether that particular functional coverage code we write. Okay, so that the tool will again check that particular coverage is hit or not, and it will give you a figure whether it is covered or not. So based on that, we will understand whether the functional coverage is obtained or not. So these two terminologies you should understand: code coverage and functional coverage. So code coverage means what? Whether all the lines, all the code in the RTL design is hit or not by your test bench. Functional coverage means what? Whether all the functionalities listed in the verification plan is executed or not. Okay, so 100% code coverage and 100% functional coverage will give you some idea whether the verification process is over or not. Okay, so this is the total plan for the or verification flow. Okay, design specification goes to the verification flow. Verification flow will split into two branches. Test case scenario. Some team will be identifying the test case scenario, means for a mux, for example. What are the test case scenario? Is my if my input is this one, and if my select line is 1 0, I should get this particular thing. That is a one test case scenario. Similarly, if my input is 1 1, I should get this as the output. That is the second test case. This is the simplest term. Okay, if you consider a very big protocol design or something, if write signal is this thing and read signal is this thing, this should happen. That is one test case. Like that, You have to, I mean, a verification engineer, one team will be identifying what are the test cases, test case generation, that will happen in one flow, and another term will be working with the test bench environment. As I already told you, how many drivers are required, what is the monitor should do, or what should be the scoreboard architecture, etc. That will be developed by another team. Okay, so that will get integrated. Once this both the lines are done, integration of RTL with the test bench environment happens, and RTL function is verified. Then comes the coverage checking, then whether the coverage target is achieved or not. Then you can to say that the verification is complete. If it is not achieved, go back to the test case generation, introduce more and more test cases, again go through this particular step once again. And once you achieve both coverages, code coverage 100% and functional coverage 100%, it is done. Okay, so here is this much technical knowledge I just wanted to give you, because today we are talking about the RTL design and verification field in the VLSI. So now you see, I have not talked about all points or something. I have just tried to give you some fair idea. Now you, if you, those who are interested, can go and read more about this RTL and verification field in the VLSI. When you read, you may hit some of these terminologies, and then you can correlate, and you will get a better idea. Okay, so let me check if you have any questions. Please, if you have any questions, please write in the um, questions window, and I will see. Okay, I will see whether it is relevant to this particular discussion or not. If it is relevant, definitely I'll attend. If it is not relevant, I will in view of time, I will tell you. Okay, and after this question answer session, I will go and tell you the career opportunity. So one more session is pending now, maybe 15 to 20 minutes. At talk about the career opportunities and how you can get into those field. Okay, so let me look at this. Okay, so one question is, in RTL design phase, please explain how to avoid writing non-synthesizable codes with some examples. See, example is not possible, Lokesh. I'll tell you. In RTL design, see, it is the responsibility of the RTL engineer to not to use the synthesizable code. For example, we should know initial block. We have initial block and always block in the RTL, right? So it is the responsibility of the RTL engineer to know that we are not supposed to use the initial block inside the RTL design, because it is not synthesizable. So we should know it in the first place. By chance, if you are not vigilant enough, or somehow you skipped some idea, and you have used non-synthesizable code, it will get explicitly available when you actually synthesize, or when you do the linting process. There is something called the linting. Okay, so that and all we will learn in the course. If I mean, you should know about the linting process. So that process is, or that simulation is called a linting. Okay, so in that we will come to know. Your question is how to identify and avoid. So by through this synthesize and linting, it will get identified. Okay, directly as using assign condition in mux 4 to 1, can we write the RTL code? Amrita is asking that question. Yes, of course, Amrita. There are various. See, the code which I have shown 4:1 mux is not a unique one. There are many. You can write code it in many ways. Only thing is, it should be synthesizable code. You should use synthesizable code. Of course, assign is a synthesizable code. You can write 4:1 mux using case statement. You can write it using if else statement. You can write it using assign statement. Okay, anything you can use. All those things are right. And you are telling it will take only one line. Fine, it is fine. Perfect. If you are confident in that assign statement, go ahead. Okay, there is nothing wrong in it. Please explain some challenges facing by RTL designers. Of course, the a complexity, Lokesh. There will be, see, right now I have shown you some what 4:1 marks, which is very simple. Okay, just to accommodate majority of our crowd. But just imagine you are coding with FSMs like finite state machines. Sometimes your code will be having more than finite state machine. FSM itself is a complicated thing. You have to code it very carefully, from which state to which state it is going, and what are the inputs and outputs, etc., etc. Now just imagine you have more than one FSM in the code. The complexity increases, right? So these are the challenges. And interconnections between blocks. Right now I have only one marks. Now I am trying to code which I have what memory, which I have what CPU, then some other blocks as such. And interconnections, what about the interconnections between these blocks? These are the challenges, right? Virupakshi came, can I get this documents? Which document you are talking about? My slide? If that is what you are asking, after a few days, this webinar completely will be available in the YouTube channel, Chiped's YouTube channel. You can subscribe to that. Then, whenever we are uploading this YouTube videos, you will come to know. Okay, and not only RTL design and verification, many other course related details are available in our YouTube channel. Okay, definitely please subscribe. You will get all the idea. Would you please repeat the abbreviation for RTL, Vedant? The RTL means registered transfer logic, means RTL design. We are converting our design into registered transfer logic, design logic. Okay, that's the explanation for RTL, registered transfer logic. RTL team and verification team work parallel or not, Gaurav? Yes, of course. Because from the specification straight, because otherwise, what's the problem? As I told you, if we are late, very late, somebody else, our competitor will introduce their product into the market, which is not at all good. We have to be saving the time. Of course, the verification is going to take really long time. Okay, so verification team cannot wait until the RTL team is ready with the code. Okay, the actual work starts when the RTL design team gives the code, but verification team can make the things ready. What are the things? Verification plan. Verification plan means what are the test cases to be tested onto the design. He can identify that and keep. Then he can make the structure ready for the test bench architecture. I told you, test bench architecture for the 4:1 mark, it is just one file, but in reality, the test bench architecture itself is a 10 file, will be 10 files. Each file doing different work like driver, monitor, scoreboard, generator, environment, then what, test bench, then top, like that. Many blocks are there in the architecture itself, so he can identify those blocks and start coding. Okay, based on that. And finally, by the time the verification team is ready with the test cases as well as the test bench architecture, he should get the RTL design. Then he will integrate these two. That comes in the last of the verification process. So definitely RTL team and the verification team can work in parallel. Okay. Is it necessary to always come code coverage 100%? Amrita, yes, of course. If you are not getting 100% code coverage, what does it mean? If you are getting 99%, suppose 99% means maybe one line is missed. Okay, one line, your test bench is missing one line in the RTL code. Okay, what is the problem? Suppose there is a bug in that particular line, it gets missed, right? It gets escaped into the next level, and it will be identified only when the product is manufactured and the IC is made. Definitely, it's a bad idea. So always we go for 100% code coverage. Is any virtual tooling available for RTL coding? So see, the industry is using, if your question virtual tool means whether you can do it at home, you are asking, means there are some, but the industry will be using the Synopsys tools or Cadence, good tools. Okay, those tools only will reveal many of the bugs in the coding. And also just for learning it's okay, but for professional knowledge, it's not at all a good idea to go for online freely available these codes. Okay, is constrained random approach exhaustive? Of course, if used properly. This constrained random coding is not that simple. You should really identify what are the constraints applicable for this particular application. Like that, writing constrained constraints for the randomization itself is a skill development. Okay, sometimes some team is as a, for that verification team, one team will be working on that. Like that, it's a skill. Okay, of course it is exhaustive if written properly. Okay, what is the difference between FPGA and ASIC, Shweta? ASIC means what? Application specific. For example, if you are writing, if you are doing a design for a CPU, that particular design is or IC. Okay, if you are making an IC for CPU, that IC will work only as a CPU. You can never make it work as a memory model or something. Okay, so it is application specific. All right. FPGA means field programmable gate array. From the name itself, it's programmable. So it is a fabric available. It's a what general purpose thing available to you. One time you can import what CPU design onto the FPGA and check whether it's working or not. Once it is done, you can erase that. Okay, and reprogram it with another design, like some DSP processor. Okay, so it is field programmable. It's a general fabric available on which you can do any design on top of that. Okay, then what difference between verification and validation? It's more or less same. Verification, you will be writing the test bench explicitly and checking for the code coverage and functional coverage, etc., etc., and writing the code, everything. Validation engineer also should have some basic knowledge in the RTL design and verification engineer, and he will be looking into many more things like power management. He should, then signal integrity validation is there, clock tree synthesis is there, performance verification, timing convergence. Okay, not single person. Again, there will be team called validation team, and they'll be looking into these different things. Okay, more or I mean the basic required for validation engineer and verification, more or less same coding only. Okay, what are the phases in Verilog? Mohit, could you please make that question more clear, that there is no phases in Verilog? I didn't understand your question. Could you elaborate as a next question somewhere? How to ensure that randomization is covered all the scenarios, as you told that we were writing directed test cases? How randomization is ensure the completion? Very good question. I'm so happy and sorry that you are thinking in those lines. I'm really happy, but actually it's going out of scope. I'll tell you the reason. Functional coverage, which I mentioned, right? Functional coverage means you are listing out the functionalities to be tested. Okay, that is a set of code. Ansari, it's a set of code. Okay, there are called coverage bins, and some concepts are there. Okay, where you will define certain things. Okay, when using constrained randomization, a particular functionalities hit, then this coverage metrics will tick that particular thing. Again, one more another constraint or same constraint, when you randomize that, if that particular functionality is hit, it will get recorded here. So ultimately at the end, the functional coverage will give you a measure how much of the functionalities you mentioned is hit by the constraint randomization. You getting the idea? So when the functional coverage is coming 100%, that means your constraint randomization is successful and all the functionalities mentioned by you is hit. Now, again, I tell you, if as a verification engineer you forgot to mention one particular functionality in the verification plan, then also you will get functional coverage 100%. There is no method to identify that. It's completely in the verification team, like it is in their hand. Okay, if they forget to mention a functionality to be tested, no way to identify that. But if you have listed that in a document, and if you have done coding for that list, there are ways to identify whether it is hit or not in the tool. Okay, that we will learn when we learn the tool. Explain DFT briefly. I think it's we are taking more time. It's fine. DFT means design for test. It means once you manufacture the IC, if you want to test the functionalities, once it is manufactured, right? You should have some way to input something and get the output at the output, right? So you should have thought about testing in the design phase itself. That thought process and implementation of that thought process is DFT, design for test. You are inserting designs for testing at the end. Okay, so that is DFT. How to write random test bench? Can you explain with example, Murli? With example is not possible right now because we don't have that much time. Okay, random test means it's not a random test bench. Okay, test bench means a collection of driver, monitor, scoreboard, all the things together we call test bench. Okay, random test means inserting a particular input with the randomization. Means if I'm giving s is equal to 0 1, s is equal to 1 1, that is directed. If I'm just telling the simulator randomize s and do it 4 times, there are chances that it will hit all the cases 0 0 0 1 1 1 1 0 in the 4 itself. Sometimes it's not possible. Then we will give, okay, it randomize s 10 times. Then there are more chances that all the cases will be listed out. So this is the beauty of randomization, not for the marks again. If you have hundreds of inputs, you can give randomization for some 50 of the signals and give 100 or 1000 randomization. There are chances that all the bugs will get revealed. So that is the beauty of randomization. Explain me one example in SV. Virupakshi, it's out of our scope for today. Definitely, I'll be happy to explain that in the next webinar. I'll consider this request from you. We can think of one SV webinar. Okay, please stay tuned. I will shortly come with some SV webinar. Okay. Why behavioral model is prefer, why not RTL? So there is a mistake in the question itself, because RTL means Verilog VHDL or system Verilog. That is the RTL HDLs. Okay, RTL means register start transfer logic, and how we implement this RTL using HDL. HDL is Verilog, VHDL, and system Verilog. Okay, now in Verilog or in system Verilog, we have got different modeling styles. They are structural, data flow, and what behavioral. Let me compare between structural and behavioral. Structural means pick and place the AND gates. If you have a mux, you can design the mux in the AND gates, the NOR gates, etc. Right? Now you will identify where first AND gate is connected in the design. Exactly like that, if you code by instantiating the AND gates and NOR gates and SOR gates or whatever gates in the design, that is called structural coding. Okay, behavioral means what? You need not know what is the inside design of a mux, whether it is XOR gate or AND gate or NOT gate. We need not know. We only need to know the functionality. If S is equal to this thing, this input should go to the output. That much only we need to know. Okay, so just imagine you are designing a CPU. Can you use behavioral or data flow is also something similar to structural only. Is it possible to identify which all gates are there in the CPU? It's not fine, right? CPU means it has got some functionality. So if you use behavioral modeling, we need to know for the sub functionality, it should have one what adder subtractor unit. So adder subtractor unit means it does this thing. Only functionality we need to know. We need not know the inside design. That is the beauty of behavioral modeling. Okay. So how can we do functional coverage? Oh, Sai Ganesh. I think I have explained in one of these questions that we will list it out using coding, and you when we randomize it, functional it will go and tick, okay, which all functions are covered, and finally it will give you out of 100 functionalities mentioned, only 70 is covered. Like that, tool will give you the idea. Okay. Then what is emulation and simulation? It's out of the scope actually. Simulation means we are mm, giving this input, and we are inputting, we are giving some inputs, and we are observing the output through simulations. Emulation means you will completely emulate. You keep the chip with the temperature verification, everything. You emulate the complete design, and check whether the particular product is working properly in the particular environment or not. Okay, so that is the difference between emulation and simulation. Why do you use default condition in RTL case statement? For that, we need to understand how it is getting synthesized in the design or not. Again, it is going out of scope. If we don't do the default condition, it will infer a latch. So inferring a latch, please note it down, Shweta. Inferring a latch, you should read more about that. Why is it not a good idea? Why we should avoid that inferring a latch in the design. Okay. I hope Shweta will read that, because it's an important concept. Due to time constraint, it will again take 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm not going into that topic. Okay, Shweta. Can you refer any book on front end designers? Book as such is not there and not required also. Please browse. If you are really interested, just Google browsing will help you. Okay. Purna Lalita. Then Ansari, Shweta. So that, okay, fine. Ansari is giving the answer for Shweta. That's great. Um, if we design the block using IP catalog, then for that also we will verify, ma'am. How to verify? Definitely, because this IP will be in connection with many other blocks, right? So for the complete thing, verification is again required, Shweta. Okay, we cannot avoid that. Explain about DFT. I think I explained. Where FPGAs are used, where ASIC designs are used. Good question, Sri Devi. ASIC designs are used where your application is very specific and you don't want anything else. That particular design, I want an IC. Give me that. That is ASIC. But FPGA means, and the problem with ASIC is, for that particular design, you have to start from the from the specification, do the what RTL design verification, PD, all this work, and finally manufacture that. Lot of cost is involved. Okay, but FPGA is an IC directly available in the market. You can just get that and inject or import your design onto that. So lot of time and effort and money is saved. But only thing is that FPGA is a fabric. For example, just imagine, it's a very simple example I'm gonna give you. If you have a ladies kurta, right, directly, if you are going to the shop and buying a ladies kurta, okay, fine, it will fit for one particular size of person with long sleeves, this thing like that. All right. But if you buy a fabric, okay, instead 3 meter fabric you are buying, and you are customizing and then making different styles, everything. Okay. But that example is not a good example, because in FPGA you can unstitch that and make another design. So that example was not good one. What I can say. So in FPGA, the thing is, like, you can undo once you're giving one design, okay, and later you can erase that and inject another, import another design into that. But the problem is, FPGA is a wider fabric. Most of this area will be unused. For example, if it has 100K gates, but your design doesn't want 100K gates, only 50K gates you want. The rest of the 50K gates will be waste, So FPGA is good for experimental purpose, and if you don't have much time to spend to make, or money to spend to make that eternal application specific IC. Okay, but ASIC is used to where time, area, power, everything is of very special importance. We cannot afford to have 100K gate ka extra area. Like that places ASIC comes into picture. Okay, is it possible to use Synopsys tool for FPGA design? Synopsys has got all the tools, but specifically for FPGA design, I'm sorry, I'm not very sure. We will Google. Okay, so both you also please Google it. I'll also Google it. Okay, I'm not very sure. Validation is coming. Ansari, validation is not what you validation. Ansari, you are right. Validation is coming into picture when silicon is come back from the foundry, but you require the RTL knowledge and signal integrity verification is coming into picture. So what I meant is like expertise required for that is more or less same. I meant. Okay, it's I didn't mean that validation and verification is same. No, one is front end, one is back end, definitely, but the expertise required for that is more or less same. Okay, validation people will never look specification document. I disagree, because they have to, because what is to be validated against what, that is listed out in the specification document, correct? So that I disagree. Okay. RTL means register transfer level or register transfer logic, register transfer level. Latches are sequential circuit on the, yes, of course. To do functional coverage, some more questions are there. I think we are running out of time. So what I do, I let me complete the rest of the session also and come back to these questions once, because otherwise others will be waiting. No? As I'll definitely come back to these questions. Okay, let me complete now. So that others can leave. Those who are not interested in the question answer session can leave after that, right? So I am sharing my screen once again. So here we are. So the how to pursue career in VLSI. There are many ways. Okay, if you the campus, you can go for campus placements in MNCs, but the problem is full. I mean, good companies, top tier companies, will do hiring from IITs, NITs, and very reputed colleges. Okay, or they will prefer masters, US. European universities, etc. One option is campus placements into VLSI service companies, okay, like HCL, Wipro, Sankalp, etc. Oh, sorry. And another option is join job oriented training from VLSI training organizations. Okay, so if you are from good companies, there are high chances that you will get campus placements for the top tier companies or even the VLSI service companies. Other option is do a course from any reputed VLSI training organizations like us. That is one way to get into the VLSI industry. Then, how to choose the right domain? As you know, there are many fresher courses in various institutes like physical design, RTL design, verification engineering, or design verification, DFT. These are the important fresher oriented courses. Okay, then how to select these courses? It is purely based on your strengths and your interest. Okay, whether digital electronics is fascinating you, or analog electronics, or CMOS, or programming. Courses in VLSI, if you are interested in digital electronics and CMOS devices, you can consider physical design. Okay, physical design involves designing the physical layout of the chip. Then If you are interested in analog electronics and CMOS, analog design or layout, okay, but nowhere, to my knowledge, people are offering this as a fresher course. I've not seen yet. If you are interested in digital electronics, analog and CMOS, DFT you can consider. Okay. If you are interested in programming and digital, that programming is really, really important. Okay. Because whether it is RTL design or verification, coding in Verilog and system Verilog is going to come. You should be really interested in. I'm not talking like you should be knowing Verilog when you join the course or something. Okay, no, but you should be interested in that coding part. Okay, otherwise this is not your cup of tea. Okay, so based on your interest, you can select various courses. Now, how Chipets can help you? We have comprehensive VLSI course offerings. Okay, we have blended training model designed to provide best professional learning. Okay, we have 1,600 plus students already trained. We are using Synopsys tools. We have VPN lab access. Anytime you can access our server and our tools sitting in your home. Okay, that is VPN lab access. Okay, anytime. So the peer learning is in your hand, what you want to learn when you want to learn. Okay, well defined digital flow courses are there, well defined analog flow courses, variety of courses we have. And we have courses for freshers, specially tailored for freshers or working professionals. Separate weekend classes we run. We do a lot of corporate programs, then educational institutions, train the trainer program, certification program for the students, as well as faculty development programs we conduct. The job oriented courses which we are starting recently is design for test, which starts on 30th November. RTL design and verification, which starts on 29th September and 12th October. I will be associated with this RTL design and verification course. One advanced, okay, then physical design is starts on 20th September to 12th October. The mode of training will be online plus classroom. Online plus classroom means initially we start with online. Once the COVID situation, everything is fine and we are able to run the classroom, then you have the choice. If you want, you can choose the classroom mode. We will be coming to our office, and rest of the thing will be the last project or something will be in the classroom mode. Okay, so the duration is 5 months, 4 months lecture plus labs, and 5 month project. Okay, sorry, fifth month will be project. RTL design and verification course in particular, I'm talking about that. That is, if you do this course, you can apply for RTL design engineer job role, RTL verification engineer job role, and validation engineer job role. Because validation engineer job role is slightly different from what we do, but more or less these things are same. So some um, companies looking for freshers means they will be looking for what all things we cover in this course only. That's what I meant. Okay, so you have a chance of getting into that field also. So if you do this particular course for 5 months, these three job profiles you can apply for. Okay, that is a highlight for this course. The blended learning model class timings will be like instructor led live online section. It will not be a recorded session, of course. We are if you are joining RTL design and verification, the trainer will be coming on screen and explaining and interacting with you, clear your doubts on daily basis. Okay, training will be for 5 days per week, Monday to Friday, 5 hours per day. We have designed like that, and it's a 5 months duration. Delivery model, each topic will be followed by hands-on lab sessions with VLSI tool. We use Synopsys tool. Majority of the industry is using the Synopsys tools for the RTL design and verification. So we also have chosen Synopsys tools. Closed group support with trainers and lab assistants on WhatsApp and email tech groups. So we will form, once you register, we will form WhatsApp groups and email groups. Anytime you can post your doubts in the group. We The set of trainers and set of lab assistants will be there. Okay, assistant teaching staff will be there. So one of us, okay, will be replying or attending your query, and that doubt will be cleared in very short span of time. Okay, so that you need not wait for next class or something to clear your doubts when you're doing, especially when you're doing the labs or when you're doing the worksheets or something. Okay, so that's one highlight from our side. Then next highlight is all the sessions, like whether it is a lecture or lab, will be recorded. Okay, and it will be uploaded in the LMS. Okay, LMS means it's a e-learning platform where we will arrange all our course materials like PPTs or worksheets or assignments, tests, everything, plus these recordings on daily basis. Okay, for example, today you missed the class. Okay, you could attend the class. Then before the next class, you have the option to go and see that recording, so that there will not be any missing happening. Similarly, at the end of the course, okay, some part of the course you couldn't grasp properly, you have the option to go back to that topic and view the recordings once again and learn it properly. So that is one advantage. All the sessions and labs will be recorded to view at a later time. Then uniqueness with CPED's courses, we have 10 plus years of experience. Industry trainers are there, Synopsys tools, and the course is designed by experts in industry as per the current need of the industry. We revise our course on every course. Okay, before every course, we revise our syllabus and cater to the current need of the industry. And 70 percentage of their course time is on lab, so that hands-on learning using tool is uh, emphasized. Okay, then placement assistant with leading companies. um, um, we are providing you some chances of getting into the industry by putting you into the placement process, depending upon the market, of course. Okay, and VLS, which are tools we are using, tools used for physical designer, VC for the digital design, VCS, synthesis, DC, design compiler tools, LEC, formality, starting timing analysis, prime time, physical design, IC compiler, RC extraction, star RC, physical verification, IC validator. For DFT, we are using design compiler, BST compiler, Tetramax, and VCS. For RTL design and verification, VCS, and for synthesis part, design compiler DC, and for linting process we use Spyglass. For RTL design and verification, as I told you, the tool intervention is really less, more coding is involved. If you look at PD, more of tool knowledge is required, so you can clearly identify where your interest is. If you are interested in coding, definitely go for RTL design and verification. If you're not good in coding, but if you are confident that you can give some contributions in the tool after learning some tools, then definitely you can consider the PD or DFT course. Placement assistance, how we provide placement assistance: soft skill training will be given, mock interviews at the end of the important topic like SP or UVM or something like that, so that you will come to know where you stand, where you have to give emphasis and learn further. Okay, then soft skill training by leading corporate soft skill trainers, mock interviews from the senior industry yeah, I already told that. And some placement opportunities, like we will give opportunities for you to attend the real interview also. Okay, depending upon the market situation, some companies will approach us to asking for the trained RTL engineer or trained verification engineer or trained PD engineer. Then we will share all of your resume. They will select according to their requirement for the face-to-face interview or written test interview. We will give all such assistance to you. Okay, and these things are based on the market situation then. Okay, Then integrated internship for the MTech students. First phase is 4 month learning, and phase two is 2 month project. This is especially for the MTech candidates. You can talk more about that if you call us or check the website. Who can join this course? Fresh graduates, postgraduate freshers, experienced engineers or faculty who have graduated in 2018. This is the course fee. This was a regular fees. Now, since we are moving into online mode and COVID, because of the COVID situation, where they have announced for a very good discount. So it's a right opportunity. Actually, if anybody is interested, this is a, this time is really difficult situation because of this Corona COVID, right? All the market is down. Not only VLSI, if you just go to a nearby grocery shop, there also they will complain that the market is down. So you can effectively use this time for developing your skills. Okay, and by the time the market is up, you will be a skilled person either in RTL or verification or PD, whatever it is your interest is. You will be skilled by that time, right? So when the market is up, straight away you can start applying for the job roles, and definitely if you are doing this course sincerely, definitely you will get placed. Okay, so that's it. Admission process includes there will be a return for our admission. Okay, if you want to join any of our course, you have to undergo this process. The first one is written test. It will be online, and interview, telephonic interview to assess your fundamental knowledge, learning ability, especially if you are coming for article design and verification. I will not ask any question to test your memory or anything. I'll be just checking whether you have the right attitude to learn or passion for VLSA, or how good you are in coding, not by testing your coding skill. I'll just ask logical questions to just check whether you are interested in coding or not. Coding means not C++ coding. I'm talking about Verilog VHDL coding. Okay, you need not know the Verilog VHDL coding, but you should have the interest to learn that. That's it. Okay, and of course communication skills and attitude is really required, because once we give all the course content, everything, you should be able to present it in before the interviewer, right? That will definitely get developed during the course duration, definitely. So we will be checking slightly upon that also. Okay, then if you are interested, please note down these phone numbers. Faisa and Deepak are the sales team. This is our office phone number. You can contact Faisa and Deepak for any of the course related this thing. Or this is our email address. Please note down or take a picture. That's enough. Now, um, if anybody interested, can contact me also. This is my phone number for technical doubts. Okay, not admission related things, please. For technical things like which course to choose, I'm still confused, or what is there in article design and verification, etc., etc. Anybody wants to, if anybody wants to know more about that technical details, please feel free to ping me. Okay, in WhatsApp. I'll schedule some time for you to talk to you over phone if required. Please note down my number. This is my number. Oh, you cannot see that screen, right? Okay, fine. Yeah, it is in the chat window. Please see that in the chat window. I have just messaged my phone number. Please. My phone number is in the chat window. Please. Now let me go through some of the 100 questions. Those who are worried about the timings, and if you are not willing to to be part of this thing, make please leave. Otherwise, I'll be discussing this because I have some more time, so I can read some more questions. Okay. Uh, yeah. The questions. Actually, I got NIT Jamshedpur embedded system this year. I want to go for design verification profile. What topic should I focus on during my MTech? See, as I told you, digital fundamentals and coding. That's digital. If you are strong in digital, nothing to worry. Coding skill and you can develop. Okay, it's not a rocket science or something. Okay, only thing is that you should not hate coding. Some people will come and tell me like, "Ma'am, I hate coding." Means they cannot think in that coding lines. Okay, such people, see, I don't say it is a bad thing or something. Some people are tuned like that, they don't like coding as such, but some people are interested in coding. Let it be CC++ or microprocessor controller coding or VHDL Verilog coding, whatever it is. Some people have that knack to learn coding so quickly. Okay, so that interest I'm talking about, you should have interest in that, and you should have fair knowledge in the digital fundamentals. Because RTL engineer, if you are going for RTL engineer design, RTL design job role, definitely they will screw you up with good design questions in the interview process itself. To get into that RTL design job role is very challenging. Okay, to get into the verification job role, of course, digital is important, not to the level like what RTL design engineer requires. So RTL verification engineer will be tested upon their system Verilog concepts and UVM concept. UVM means Universal Verification Methodology. System Verilog and UVM methodology you should be knowing. Okay. Aravind. I answered to Aravind's question. Companies like Qualcomm, etc., comes here for internship here. Grab that opportunity. That will be an awesome opportunity to get into the VLSI industry. Okay. So I have I came to know that Intel Qualcomm, they thoroughly test your digital and basic electronics concepts. Okay. Vedant is asking, will Chip Edge come for campus placement in Amrita Vishwavidyapitham? No, Vedant. No. Okay. Then Ansari is asking, guys, please read my post who asked question. Okay, you have a blog or something, Ansari? Please mention your link down here so that we all can just have a look into that, Ansari. Purna Lalita is asking difference between Verilog and System Verilog. Verilog is the first to work. I mean, these HDL languages will evolve, right? As and when it is getting evolved, more and more features are getting added into that. Okay, so Verilog was the widely used language for RTL design. Okay, then as well as for verification initially. Okay, as and when the complexity of the RTL design kept increasing, Verilog was not able to absorb or was not able to cater to many of the verification needs. Like uh, Verilog was not having the OOPS concept, like object oriented programming concept. So scientists identified that having OOPS logic in the verification language will help them in their verification process. So they revised or introduced those new features into the Verilog and made system Verilog. Okay. Then ma'am, Vedant is asking, ma'am, is this test bench or whatever they do under this is done in the foundry? No, design gets translated into the silicon. Silicon means, I mean, that IC. So design is converted into the silicon. What is the role of test bench? Just to check whether the RTL design is correct or not. So test bench is not going anywhere till for a foundry or something. Test bench, writing test bench stands there only in the ASIC design flow. But the RTL design goes down into the VLSI design cycle until the foundry. Okay, test bench stops there. Where? To check the RTL design whether it is correct or not. Ansari has answered to some of the questions, I guess. To do functional coverage, we need to write the code for it separately. Yeah, correct. Bins is used to cover the functional coverage, which is written inside cover group and end group. Where the cover group we need to write inside the cover group to sample. Yeah, this is somewhat high end. Okay, you may not understand that for the beginners. You may not understand these things. These are the concepts which you have to learn in the verification. Once you undergo this verification training from here or anywhere else, or just Google it, start reading more about these things. Okay, then you will understand what is this concept of functional coverage and constraint randomization, etc. I hope I have answered all the questions. If I have not attempted, I mean, read out your question and answered, uh, please, please write your question one more time in the last, so that I can easily, otherwise I have to dig, right? So please post your question once again in the this thing. Okay, Ansari, I would like to know what you are doing, Ansari. In the chat window, maybe you can give brief me what you are doing. Are you a student or you are working somewhere or what? In which domain? Sachin is asking in which domain we can get good and more job opportunities. Sachin, I will say job opportunity is more or less same for these um, courses. I mean these domains: RTL design or RTL verification or RTL PD and DFT. Out of this, I will say PD and verification has got slightly more number of opportunities wise. Okay, but at the same time, for example, DFT. Okay, if some company wants DFT trained freshers, that category is also very less. If they come to the market in search of DFT trained candidates, that is also very less. So as far as opportunity is concerned, I would say all these are having kind of same opportunity. If you do the course and if you are excel in that, the chance of getting into VLSI industry is really really great. Nice opportunity is there. Whether you do in GPEDS or anywhere else, if you are passionate and if you're doing that course 100% sincerely, if you're doing your project properly, if you are doing all the assignments and all the learning process properly, there are high chance that you will get into the industry. Okay, if you're really passionate, you will reach there. And trust me, being an electronics or VLSI student, uh, you should definitely try for VLSI job profile, because of the lot of monetary benefits are there, uh, good growth is there. Okay, one thing I forgot to discuss here is, I will just show you the syllabus. I wanted to show you the syllabus for RTL design and verification. Here is the syllabus. We start with, you're able to see the screen, I guess, I think. You will start with Linux and GVim. Then in that, basic commands and how to change the directory permissions, GVim commands, etc. Okay, then advanced digital design. We start with digital number system, Boolean algebra, came up, everything we will teach you. Only thing is that not to the depth will be there, but fast. Okay, it will not, it will be a 3 month course or 4 month course in your BTech MTech, but we don't have that much time in that, so we will be touching upon all these topics. Okay, frequency division, some advanced concepts like timing considerations, before death calculations, etc. Then CMOS fundamentals, we will deal electronic devices, semiconductors, MOSFET, function implementation using CMOS, stick diagram, layout, etc. We'll do some Python scripting language. How much is required for the VLSI engineer or verification RTL engineer? How much of the scripting language is required? Python itself is very huge, but that much will not be dealing. How much is required for this course? We'll definitely teach you, which includes the file IO, especially. Okay, that's really required for a verification or RTL engineer. Then RTL design using Verilog. Okay, then synthesis STA, we give nice importance to the synthesis and STA in our course. Then we will do linting and CDC to some extent. Okay, then comes the RTL design project. Okay, then we start the basic verification, then system verilog, all the concepts required in the system verilog, basic language constructs, then advanced system verilog like randomization and constraints, coverage based verification as I told you right now, assertions, writing assertion is another skill which you need to develop. Then system verilog project, universal verification model, that is UVM, then UVM project, and soft skill training. This much is included in the uh, syllabus. Okay, I'll copy this link to our chat window. Maybe some of you can go through this link. Okay, and if you are interested, definitely contact us or contact me. So I think I have answered all the questions. Now I am seeing one question Subodh is asking. What is VLSI design and FPGA design? FPGA design comes under VLSI design, we can say. FPGA is a branch of VLSI design. VLSI domain as such is a big thing which involves design of ASIC, design of FPGA, tool-based thing, manufacturing, everything together we call VLSI domain. Okay. So any other question I'm seeing? Oh, great, Ansari. So you are an intern in Intel. What domain you are working? Somebody Sridevi is asking. FinFET has replaced CMOS long ago. FinFET did not replace CMOS. FinFET replaced NMOS PMOS. Correct. That complementary logic is still prevalent. Okay, Sridevi. And FinFET research is still going on. Complete replacement has not happened yet. Correct. What's the difference between Verilog and VHDL? Slight differences only. Very slight differences. More or less, both are doing the same functionality. It's just the matter of who prefers what. Okay, most of the European countries are still preferring VHDL. We were telling, but now everybody shifted to Verilog and system Verilog, especially. Correct. Okay. Okay, great. Ansari is doing DV. Fine. Anything else you want to talk to me? Maybe you can ask in the questions window or chat window. I think I have answered all of your questions. We have crossed the time limit also, but still, okay, it was nice interacting with you. This time I got very interactive candidates. It's very nice that to know that you people are interested in VLSI. So this is one piece of advice from my side. If you have done electronics or VLSI, don't compromise for any other job. Always you should try for VLSI job. It's really challenging. It's interesting, and growth wise as well as monetary wise, it's really rewarding. Okay, so please don't go for any other job. Don't compromise for it. If you do that, it will be a big compromise for your life. Please don't do that. And please, if you have if you need any career guidance, what to do or something, always feel free to contact me. I'll be there in the Chip Edge office itself, and I have shared my phone number also. Please contact me. Okay. Divya is asking, what is the right kind of mindset to have while going through the learning process? That I think you, by asking this question itself, you are showing that right mindset. That is, you should be really visual. I mean, you should be passionate, right? You should be passionate in what you are learning. You should show the interest, and you should have only one goal. That is, get placed in a very good company. Okay, very good top company like Intel or Qualcomm, or good tool company, EDA companies like Synopsys or Cadence, or AMD is a very good company which offers 12.7 13 lakhs for a fresher. Can you imagine? So if you get into those companies, your life will be settled, correct? I mean, if you really wish for a good career growth, money, fame, these are the things which attracts any youngster, right? We all uh, need that, right? Not only just job, we need those things, right? So always dream for these things, then learning process means what? You should have that passion. What all things are required, I mean, what all topics are there in that particular course, you should know in and out, not just surface level knowledge. You should go deeper into that. Okay, some trainer will be definitely training you, means you will get more idea what is to be read from the internet, what all projects you have to do. So you should have a mentor. According to me, for these professional courses, you should have a mentor. I could be that for the article design and verification. If you join our course, we motivate all our candidates. So the right mindset means passion for learning and hard work. You should do proper hard work. Thank you, Ansari. Thank you. You are. I'm happy that I could satisfy some of you. Ma'am, I have completed triple. Sachin is asking, can I get VLSI council? Definitely. You have done digital fundamentals, right? In triple E. I guess so. Yes. So you can see why for doing this course we are not wanting you to know anything other than little bit of digital concept. Even those digital concepts we are providing from the scratch. Only thing is that you should have that quickness in your learning. If you are confident that you can learn those concepts quickly in 1 month, done. We'll be doing basics for 1 month or so to cater to such candidates. Shweta is asking, interview purpose basic is necessary, nothing much. Shweta, for chippage interview I'm talking about. We If I am taking the interview, what I am looking for is whether you know what a number system is, what this binary, what is combinational and sequential logic means, what is a flip flop, like that basic thing. I'll be testing whether you know that. Okay, what is a Boolean algebra? What is a De Morgan's law? Such a simple things I'll be asking. If you are not answering, also I'll be probing you. Okay, if you are good enough, you will catch my clues, and if you are able to answer that, it's the best thing I will be looking for. That means what? Even though you are not good in your fundamentals, you have that logic to think. That is only required for article design and verification. So I don't want anybody to know everything properly and come for the course. Nobody wants that course then, right? You should have the proper mindset, proper attitude, and good attitude for learning. Only that we will be testing for. Then for placement, like Intel Wipro, for the Intel Wipro kind of thing, they'll be looking for your knowledge in, for example, see these companies. I told you, Intel Wipro kind of companies will go to the campus for placements. What they do, they go to the top tier campuses like IIT, NIT, or very good campuses. Okay, and they'll hire cream set of students. Okay, in campus placements they will be asking only for basic electronics or basic digital, basic CMOS things they will ask and hire you. Okay, and they will train you. They'll put you into the training unit, and they'll train some batch will get trained in PD, some batch will get trained in DV. Like that, they'll train you and put you into the project. That is one selection process from Intel, Qualcomm, or these companies. The second process is like these companies will ask for trained candidates. Where do they get the trained candidates? From the companies like us. Or they will just publish in their website, we are looking for trained candidates. Okay, just like that, freshers they will not hire from the market much. These are the two major selection processes for these companies. If they are calling for the trained candidates, you should have a specific skill set. For example, if Intel is asking for RTL trained candidates, they will look for your good Verilog concepts, your synthesis, STA, linting, and CDC. They will check definitely. Similarly, if they are calling for trained DV candidates, verification candidates, they will definitely check your system Verilog and UVM methodology knowledge. You getting my point? So this is the thing. If they are doing campus placement, they may not look for SVUVM knowledge. But if they are publishing the placement, or what you call recruitment for trained candidates, definitely they will check your good basics plus SVUVM knowledge also for the verification engineer. For any interview, definitely the basic knowledge is important. Okay, whether it is campus placement or the trained candidate placement, the first thing will be you'll be attending the written test, which includes basics of CMOS or digital, then a little bit of Verilog, little bit of what programming things, etc. That's for sure. Basics is really important. Shall we disperse then? Thank you all. See you soon if you are interested.